think the Congo line of objectionable articles needs to stop. It's just filling me with rage. As much as I get filled with rage. I'm not gonna Hulk out any day soon. Alright, so... Lord. So, it's an election year. So I'm going to have annoying posts on Facebook, on social media, on everything for a long ass time. There's nothing to do about it, and I can ignore most of them. Like, I'd say better than 9/10 of them. Just whatever. Don't care. And then something shows up, you know? Okay. Full disclosure. I am libertarian. I have many videos about this already. Not many, enough. It's obvious I'm not going into that. But it's a good preamble to... Alright, so I'm looking through stuff on Facebook, on social media in general. And then an article comes up. The abhorrent white privilege of a third-party vote. And I can't say nothing because it's kind of like the author there's calling me an asshole. So I gotta say something, right? Or at least look at it. And I did, and I read the whole thing all the way through twice. And I need to comment on it. I really need to say some shit. And I never do reaction stuff, and that's like the opening for every video I'm doing these days. Like, I never do reaction stuff again. Meh. Alright, so here we go. Digging in. So, Charles Dunst of pastemagazine.com does an article called The Abhorrent White Privilege of a Third-Party Vote. And automatically I'm intrigued. So I start reading it, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 long paragraphs. I'm going to post a link to this thing. 8 long paragraphs of no mention of third parties. No mention of really of anything in the title. It's just Trump is fucking awful. And by and large, I don't disagree. I mean, these are very good examples. Not perfect examples, but decently cool examples of some of the worst behavior from Trump, which is not his stupidity, which I don't care about, his vulgarity, could not give a shit. It's the resorting to scapegoating and fear-mongering, scapegoating. Like, those people are awful. Maybe I can protect you from them if you vote for me. I hate that shit. That's bullshit. What a bunch of bullshit. And apparently, Charles Dunst is no fan either. So, we're on the same page from there. And just when we get down to about paragraph 9, literally, there's one full paragraph, and the last paragraph is the closing. Fair enough. And the actual thesis statement, the meat of this entire article, is one freaking paragraph. Which I'm going to read because it's just one freaking paragraph, and I'll put the link on. And it's like this, okay, quote, "This long-winded tirade has led me to my main question." Like, finally we get to the goddamn point. If you fit into any minority group, Jewish, Muslim, Mexican, Black, Muslim, again, for some reason, terribly written article, no accounting for taste, disabled, okay, or if you are a woman, how can you justify a third-party protest vote? Yeah, right? The idea of a Trump presidency is genuinely terrifying. Hate crimes against Muslims have increased along with Trump's poll numbers, as have ad hominem attacks on Jews. I agree, ad hominem attacks are stupid, attacking the person, not the argument, and so on. This piece is aimed at Johnston and Stein voters, so he's talking to me, voters who proclaim Trump disgusting, but not enough to ensure he isn't elected, apparently. My emphasis. Inherent in that vote is a degree of privilege. Privilege to know that even if Trump is elected, you won't feel the direct results. The thing at the bottom is just, it's a closing. I'll discuss it later. But let's talk about this, and this is what's kind of perfect about discussing this article is, like I said, it's just Trump is awful for 8 paragraphs, and then that's it. That is the meat of it. That's the whole of it, so that's easier to discuss because there's not a lot to it. So let's take it down. And instead of going all long-winded and state my thesis at the end, like some other writers, well, they'll just jump out and say it right now. How about that? I don't like mudslinging or name-calling. It's not an argument. That's just, at best, it's fun. It's like, you're so stupid, I'm so clever, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of pointless, but it's just it's no meat. It's just fluff. At worst, it's counterproductive. It divides you and gets you worked up so you don't feel like speaking in a reasonable tone. So name-calling is pointless, is my point, I guess. So I don't like when the mudslinging, it makes me respect both sides less, is my point. That said, let me just jump out and say that Charles Dunst is a huge hypocrite. There we go. I said it. I went there. Why, you might ask? Because Charles Dunst just spent 8 paragraphs telling me how awful Trump is, and how horrible he is, and specifically how people are being mistreated because of the rhetoric of fear-mongering, of the... I mean, and it's awful. And he's not I'm not largely disagreeing with most of this in most of this article that he put out. I mean, here's a guy who is kind of pinning his star on hate and fear, and that's why he's despised. You could argue lots of back and forth things about Trump and the campaign at large and Clinton and da-da-da-da-da. That's not the point of this video I'm doing right now. My point is, going through and saying how awful someone is to resort to fear and then do exactly that thing in your 9th paragraph. It's like, this guy is awful. Look at all the awful, how he's resorting to fear-mongering and scapegoating, and that isn't fair, and let me do it right here in the 9th paragraph. Charles Dunst, you need to re-examine your shit here, because you're being a huge hypocrite. Now, you are. Whether or not, and once again, I've done videos, maybe I'll even link to my own videos about where I point out voting for someone out of fear is awful. I mean, that's what he's accusing, in essence, Trump of doing, trying to make people afraid of immigrants, blacks, Muslims, and so on, and he's trying to get them to vote for him out of fear, and it's an awful thing. Let's examine that. It is an awful thing to do. The rest of the article, like I said, there's only 2 paragraphs after that. There's not much to it. Thinking other than doing some little bit of research about Trump and writing 2 paragraphs, this was an easy article. Let's respond. The idea of Trump is genuinely terrifying. Hypocrite. Hate crime. Hypocrite. In other words, look what's going to happen if you don't vote for Hillary Clinton. Is really It's exactly what Trump is doing. It is exactly. Okay, but this piece is aimed at Johnson and Stein voters. I doubt that, but okay. Voters who proclaim Trump disgusting, we do, I just did. But not enough to ensure he isn't elected, apparently. Because the only way you will be saved from this awful, dark future is to stop the Terminator and vote for Hillary Clinton. No, I'm not voting out of fear, Dunst. Actually, the bulk of your article is excellent evidence as to why. I'm not voting out of fear. I won't be scared into voting for someone I think is awful. No. What else? And there's that last sentence, the last two sentences. Inherent to that vote is a degree of privilege. At this point, Dunst doesn't just jump off the hypocrisy board. Straight dab into a big pool of baiting. I mean, it's, if you don't vote for Hillary, you just don't. It's like, God, it's like almost jingoistic. Well, I guess you didn't love freedom enough. The last thing is Hillary Clinton. I know you don't like Hillary. You may even hate her. I mean, may think she's dishonest, career politician, corrupt, bad decision maker, and so on and so forth, as though she's just a terrible, terrible politician who's kind of leaning on pushing us into World War III. But let's not jump ahead. Let's just focus on how awful Trump is. Every right to believe so. Of course I do, because it's true. But as a member against, I am begging you to reconsider. Okay, I'm actually going to, I was going to skip this part, but let's just do it real quick. Once again, quote, this is from his article. I'm begging you to reconsider. I know that many of you will say that voting for is the only way to maintain a clear conscience. No. Let's respond to both of those. First of all, I also find it a little arrogant that, you're voting for a third party must be a protest vote. You don't really want Johnston or Stein to get elected. You're just doing that because you don't like these other two. Yeah, I'm sure there are people like that, but the idea that some people might actually want their third party candidate to get elected. Like there are libertarians out there somewhere, somehow, who actually would like to see Gary Johnson be president. Impossible. I mean, it's insulting and arrogant. Or that there aren't Green Party voters who don't really want Jill Stein to get elected. Is that what you're suggesting here with your protest vote? I mean, it's a subtle jab, I'll give you that, but still. Maintain a clear conscience. Let me turn it around, by all means, sir. Voting for a third party based on your sense of moral superiority, while ignoring the very real peril of minorities, is not my understanding of maintaining a clear conscience. Okay. Let's go through this. Actually, let's kind of dig into this guy a little. Like I said, I was going to make this super short and just jump out of this, but, let's kind of look at this last paragraph. Let's deconstruct this. So, voting with your conscience, in other words, acting in a way that you believe is right, is selfish. I mean, once again, you disagree with me, you should feel bad. It's not just... It's as though this bipartisanism is actually a war between good and evil. Like, if one of them is bad enough, the other must be good. No. Selfish moral superiority first. Yes, actually, I will. I'm not compromising my beliefs because you think Donald Trump is the boogeyman. I mean, no. This isn't, or if you do convince me of that, this isn't the way to do it. Trying to use fear and shame to get people to vote. I mean, that's this election. Fuck this election. And this is why. It's nothing but you should feel fear or shame or both. And it's clearly as Dunst has pointed out, previous 8 paragraphs, clearly Trump is willing to do it, and clearly Charles Dunst is willing to do it too. Moral superiority, sir, you are not morally superior to the person you have just spent the bulk of this article lambasting. You did the exact same thing in the same way. You're relying on other people's fear of their sense of uncertainty to try to get them to vote the way you think they should. Fuck you. Seriously, based on your own, putting your own selfish moral superiority first. Yeah. How dare you believe in shit I don't. The possibility... Okay, let's go answer this last thing. You allow for the possibility of an America in which anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, racism, and misogyny are normalized and expected. Well, here's the problem I have with this. People, like Charles Dunst, for example, will tell me that they're already normalized. But that's kind of vague. That's not a good counter to this. Allow for the possibility. Of course there's a possibility of it. There's a possibility of that under Hillary Clinton. What the fuck do you think? I mean, do you believe, Charles Dunst, that all the people who are afraid of Muslims and immigrants and on all the rest, do you think they're going to vanish the second Trump doesn't get elected? They exist, and here's my real rejoinder, is that no, you should respond to the 8 paragraphs with a reason. And he kind of starts. He points out that Trump is, one of his things is, immigrants are bringing in all this crime, but that illegal immigrants actually commit fewer crimes than non-immigrants, which makes perfect sense when you think about it. You don't flee into a country illegally and then start drawing attention to yourself by committing crime. That doesn't even make any sense. So, yeah, he's right. That's how you counter this, with reason, with logic and facts. Not this bullshit, you should feel bad because you don't agree with me or you're allowing for the possibility. I understand many of you hate Hillary Clinton. But please, put your own priorities aside and think of your minority friends who in this election desperately need you and your vote to prevent the return to an America where we are not welcome. Boy, that sounds like Charles Dunst is just ending on a reasonable note, that he's appealing to emotion and compassion. In an article titled, I will remind you, The Abhorrent White Privilege of a Third Party. Abhorrent. He used the word abhorrent. A third party is abhorrent. It's not just privilege. It exists purely out of privilege, white privilege, but it's abhorrent. Fuck you, Charles Dunst. I mean, all you did was piss me off. And this was not the way to convince anyone of anything. You are no better than someone who's writing an article supporting Trump. I think that's it. Like I said, this article just pissed me off in the wrong way. It's like, I've seen a ton of articles like this, and most of them whatever, eye roll. I agree with this part, I don't agree with that part. Nah, shrug, whatever. You've failed to change my mind. This one actually, because, like I said, right in the fucking title is calling me an asshole. It's like, well, you've succeeded in capturing my attention, and then I read through it, and it's just like, you're awful for not agreeing with me and voting. Here are people with fears. My fears are more important than theirs. So you should vote with me and not with them. You should vote in a way that I think you should. and not the way you
mean,
think you should. Don't tell me why one's worse. That's not the same. Tell me why she's good. Don't tell me why the other guy's bad. Why is she good? What is she good at? There's nothing to this. And you know it. You didn't bring up a single thing, a single good reason to vote for her other than fear-mongering. Other than fear and shame. Shame at fear. Your fear. We should be ashamed of your fear. No. That's no good. These are two very unconvincing candidates. And this is an unconvincing article. That's me. I normally don't do political stuff. I don't like it generally, but that's me. Like and subscribe if you want to.